Hey guys, and welcome to the first ever podcast on this new series that I'm doing on book reviews. So, I read a lot of books, and what I thought is I'm going to do a podcast on all the books that I read. And this isn't going to be a full review of the entire book, this could be just a part of the book, and I could be breaking up each of the podcasts on different parts of the book. And this first review that I'm going to do is Mastery by Robert Greene. So if you don't know who Robert Greene is, he is the author of the 48 Laws of Power and also his recent book called the Laws of Human Nature, which I also read recently. It's a really good book, and I'll definitely do a review on that. He also wrote 33 Strategies of War, The Art of Seduction, and the 50th Law. So the 50th Law was actually written by Robert Greene and the rapper 50 Cent. So I've got all of his books on my shelf right now, and I've read three of them. And once I read all of his books, I'll be doing a full review on the writing style of Robert Greene because I really like his writing style. So if you haven't read any of his books in the past before, what he does is he shows you examples of stories from examples in history. So in 48 Laws of Power, there's a section called Curb Attention at All Costs. So that's one strategy to get power. And that strategy is it tells you how to get power by just getting attention by being controversial, by being scandalous. And he said it's better to be attacked and it's better to be attacked than be ignored. So that's actually a lot of strategy that people are using today to get power. So if you look at the current president of the United States, he used attention. He was just saying controversial things just to get attention, and now he's in power. So it's when you read through this, you can actually look back at some of your. This isn't just to get like a major power. You can also use these laws to get power in your office, in your social skills, and all of that. So if you just look back at some of the situations that you've been through, whether you got power or you didn't get power, you can tell why you didn't by reading this book. So it kind of clicks. You're like, oh, I did this part wrong. Oh, and if you did get power, you realize, oh, I did this part right, and you kind of realize what you did right and what you did wrong. So the 48 Laws of Power is probably his best book, but I'll be doing a full review on that later on in another video. But in today's video, I just want to do a quick review of the first chapter of his book called Mastery. So this book is all about how to become unreplaceable within your niche. So people like Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Steve Jobs, those people are unreplaceable because you just can't find another person like Steve Jobs to replace what he left. So let's say you got a degree. Let's say you got a degree in architecture. So you're an architect, but you're still replaceable because there's other people, plenty of people that still have a degree on that same subject. So he talks about how to be unreplaceable so your company that hired you or your clients can never leave you. They need you, and you can, ask for a pay rise comfortably. And without, worry, you don't need to worry about getting fired and all of that. So that's what this book is all about. And he showed you examples from history of people that were unreplaceable. One of the main people that he talks about is Leonardo da Vinci. So I'll be talking about him later on in some upcoming videos, but the first part is all about setting the stage. What is the field that you choose? And he calls this Primal Curiosity. So this had like a big impact on me, just this first chapter alone. So Primal Curiosity is when you're drawn to certain things as a child. So if you look back in your childhood, maybe from 5 years old to, let's just say, 15 years old, what were you drawn to? What were the things that you were drawn to without being encouraged? So your family encourages you to go to school, study this subject, go to university and all that. Your friends might encourage you to go to the gym or to come to parties and all of that. Your parents might encourage you to, maybe read a certain book, or your teachers might encourage you to read a certain book and all of that. But, those are all, fine. That's nothing wrong with that. But what were you drawn to without any encouragement? And you can't really explain this rationally why you were drawn to these certain things. So I'm going to show you what I was drawn to. So what I was drawn to, I was as a child when I was 5 years old, I just really liked drawing. So in class, whenever there was an art class, I just liked that subject alone. I didn't really like reading and writing. I didn't. I did my mind was more visual, so I just really liked drawing. That was when I was about 5 years old, and at 10 years old, I got into a bit more arts and crafts. So I didn't just like drawing and painting, but I also liked drawing with rulers, kind of drawing buildings and all of that. So these are like straight lines and more precise drawings. And this is more specifically drawing by hand, not drawing with computers. Then I was also drawn to bodybuilding. So I'm not a bodybuilder right now, but I always looked at these guys that were going to the gym and, they're getting all these results. They're much stronger. They put on a lot of muscle and they're really fit and strong. So I was really drawn to that and I was really keen to join. So what happens is your primal curiosity, most of it would actually get crushed by society, your friends, your family, and they tell you what to do. So they tell you this is the best thing for you to do. This is you shouldn't go in that route because this is your whatever you're trying to do that doesn't work because they couldn't do it. So what you have to do is kind of bring back that primal curiosity, and you have to kind of mix them all together. So, for example, what I wrote down was I like drawing, and I like drawing by hand specifically. And what I studied at university was architecture. But in architecture school, they make you draw by computers. So you have to sit in front of the computer, you have to draw a bunch of lines, and it just didn't feel right. I like to physically touch what I'm drawing. So it's like drawing, painting, and I like to design design by hand. And when you're just staring at a computer, it just didn't feel right. So that was one thing. So I just wrote on a paper, I like drawing by hand. The next thing is bodybuilding. So when I was in my teenage years, my parents encouraged me to play basketball. So I still really like basketball. I still play basketball every now and then. So, but what I really wanted to do was go to the gym and build a good physique. So now, only recently, about for the past 3 years, I've been going to the gym frequently, consistently, and I've also been on a good diet as well. So I know all the calories that I'm eating. I can count my calories. I can cook the right diet that I need. I can also customize my own diets because I've been reading a lot of books on fitness and all of that. So this first part is just kind of setting the stage on what you want to become. And there's kind of a mini, he didn't really say this, but I call it kind of a mini primal curiosity and a major primal curiosity. I would say the major primal curiosity is your passion. Like that's your career that you want to pursue. And for me, it was entrepreneurship. So I really wanted to become an entrepreneur because I never liked working for anyone else. Even if it's a good job, even if it's a high paying job, I just never liked working for other people because you don't get to make any of the decisions. Like a lot of the decisions are made by them, and they get to decide when you get to go on a holiday, when you get to leave the office, when you get to come into the office, what work you do, how much you get paid. I just didn't want other people to make all of these decisions for me. And the only way that I saw out of this kind of loophole that the system created is through entrepreneurship. So I wanted to start my own business, make my own money. I wanted to be free. I wanted to free up my time a little bit. So it doesn't mean that I don't want to work. I work quite hard. I am a workaholic, but I like to work on my own projects. I like to come up with my own visions and then make those visions come true through my own projects. So that's kind of the major primal curiosity that I kind of wrote down. So I was always drawn to this, and I was kind of drawn away by this from my parents and my family actually. So they always told me to become a doctor or an engineer, and they forced me to take subjects in school that I didn't like. And eventually I realized that was the wrong move. So because I should have stood up for myself and told them this is what I want to do. And it was only when I was about 23, I just decided to do my own thing. I tried to start my own online store, try to sell things online, try to start a new YouTube channels, and now I'm running my own business. And it's not easy, but it's actually much harder than just having a regular job. But I'd rather do this, even though it's a lot harder, because I feel like I have a sense of purpose rather than actually working for someone else and working for their purpose and their vision. And so that's my major primal curiosity. And this kind of changes and evolves over time. Uh, Not the entrepreneurship itself. I will always be an entrepreneur, but what it is. Why am I an entrepreneur? So it could be I just want to make money. So that's the first part of being an entrepreneur. The second part could be I want to build beautiful products. I want to design my own beautiful products and sell it to the world. So this is what you have to do. You have to write down what were the things that you were drawn to as a child. And then what were you how are you going to turn this into a career? So how are you going to become unreplaceable within your niche? And this takes years of practice to become unreplaceable. He talks about all of this within the first chapter. So the first chapter is just about setting the stage, figuring out what you want to do. So I did a lot of thinking into this, and I'll probably share with you guys more in detail about what I wrote down and how I wrote things down. And I'll share that video soon. But the rest of the book goes into apprenticeship. So you have to find a mentor. He also talks about people who didn't find mentors and did it by themselves as well. Then he talks about creativity, how to find a niche or a field that no one else has really gotten into. Then he talks about how to really become a master within that field. So he shows you examples from history, all the strategies that they've used. He talks about a world's leading neuroscientist, a linguist, and I think that's how it's pronounced, a linguist, I'm not sure, Leonardo da Vinci. But he doesn't talk about Steve Jobs in this video, in this book, but he has talked about him in some of the interviews that I watched with Robert Greene. I think that's because Steve Jobs actually died. The Apple actually took off a few years after this book was released. But still, it's a great book. It's definitely worth reading, and that's pretty much it. So that's the first part, setting the stage. And in the next video, I'll be talking about another book called Laws of Human Nature, which is also by Robert Greene. And if there's any other books that you guys want me to read, comment down below, and I'll read it and I'll make a review on it. So that's it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one.